And welcome to Front Row, the podcast. We're very excited to have you here. But before we get going, please remember to like, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review if you got value from this week's episode. We can't wait to share with you all the industry peers, all the industry experts, all around professional speaking. And we are super excited to welcome you to this week's episodes. Get your notepad ready, get your action steps lined up, and let's tune in to this week's episode. There we go. Recording has started. We are live on YouTube. So welcome to the ANS Front Row podcast. This is the Judges series. This is where I get to interview as many of the amazing judges who are all involved in the Speaker Awards 2026. Now, Michelle Raymond goes back. She joined us 3 or 4 years ago. We'll get to the bottom of that. She took a year out and now she's back in full effect. Now, Michelle, I started to confess that you're my first. But last week I had another first. I had Jazz Amparfar, who was our first Speaker of the Year first, because you were the very first one, weren't you? Your very first Speaker
definitely.
Awards. Right, I remember you dancing away and to entertainment, and then she was the multiple winner the following year, and so we kicked off the ANS Front Row podcast with her interview, which is live on this channel, of course, and on LinkedIn and on the podcasting channels. She was my first. She was the first interviewee. We kicked off, and now you are my other first. You are my second first, but you're my first because you're the first judge I'm interviewing of 2026. Right. Welcome back, Michelle Raymond. Woo! It's so nice to see you and reconnect with you. I know we spent some time together briefly in Dubai.
Yes.
And also we spent some time briefly a few seconds ago on a riverside that didn't quite work out. So this is almost part 2. Mm-hmm. I am super excited about 2026. It's our 5-year anniversary. We have an incredible range of judges, all people who are involved in the industry, bureaus, agents, all kinds of people, presentation trainers, all people at the top of their game, right? Even this year, we've got someone from America who runs an agency out there, Campus Speak, a guy called David Stolman, who I think you know from the Clubhouse days, right? So he's now a judge. So we've gone international. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Well, we've always been international, but we've actually gone international with our judging panel. So I'm super excited. Michelle, what was it? Because it's actually befitting that you're the first judge I'm interviewing, because you've been involved since the beginning. You took 1 year out, which I haven't forgiven you about. So you're still on my list, that naughty list. But, that's okay. That's allowed. But tell us from the beginning, what was it that got you involved in the Speaker Awards? We're coming into year 5 now. So what was it about it?
I just think it's a brilliant concept. And I'm actually really surprised that it hasn't been done earlier. If you were to ask so many people, an X amount of people, they will all say they want to be speakers or they're professional speakers. And every other type of industry, there's an award. I mean, I live out here in Dubai and there's award ceremonies left, right and centre. But I'm really surprised that there hasn't been, or I've probably missed it, there hasn't been a Speaker Award and Speaker Summit. So you guys are right on the money for that, because
nudge, wink, wink.
Yeah. it's attracting wannabe speakers, speakers who have already made it, bureaus, agents, speakers who now sew into others, who are coaches. And so it just brings us all together. So I love it. I absolutely love it.
And to be involved for 4 out of the 5 years, something's kept you coming back. What is it that's kept you coming back, besides my charm, of course?
Apart from your charm, I think it's definitely the people. I have connected with some really great people over the years. And actually last year, so I wasn't there last year because that's when I just moved to Dubai.
Yeah.
But the year before, there was a lady who I was sitting next to in the audience or at the summit. And we said, we'll keep in contact. And she said, when I come out to Dubai, I'll come and, we'll meet up. Like 8 months passed. And she sent me a message. She goes, I'm out in Dubai. And we met up and we had lunch and we had such a great time. So I think not only does it help elevate your professional speaking career, but you get to build really incredible networks. And I've done that with, people I've been sitting with, other judges, the panelists, the speakers. So it's been really good.
And which categories have you judged in your 4 out of the 5 years
So
that you've been a
we have
judge?
done, if the ones I can remember that stick out is the TEDx.
Yep.
I've done best video,
Show
and
reel, show reel.
video show
They
reel.
all put videos in.
They all put videos, yeah, and it has to be a show reel.
Yeah,
And there was another one, but I can't remember what it's called, but it was very creative.
very
Which one was that
creative.
one? No,
Okay.
it showed, it was where the speakers had to send in a reel, but it had to be really creative because I remember the person who won that was that gentleman and he was so good.
Which
So yeah,
gentleman?
there was different ones. What's his name? Oh, I've lost his name. He's a he's a young, I want to remember, he looked so young. He had like a young face.
Andrea, Italian guy.
Yes.
So that's the
That's the
virtual
name.
category you're
Yeah,
talking about.
virtual. Yeah, we did
We
virtual.
we we're dropping that this year. Little
Ah,
yeah, virtual categories going for 20. We're going to announce it on the 26th of March at 2 p.m.
right.
The two new categories coming up. But yeah, actually Andrea's come back as one of the judges this year. So isn't that funny?
Nice.
He's almost gone full circle. So it's lovely to
Yeah.
have him on board. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's the people, it's the community. And what about talk about what you see from a judge's point of view? What are the kind of like the ones that you remember Andrea? But what are kind of the stuff you're like, yes, this speaker's got it, and then you go, oh no, this speaker doesn't have it, right?
Yeah.
Because I think what I'm keen to quickly say is we get very established speakers apply. This isn't just for wannabe newcomers. There's one category for newcomers out of now going to be I think 11. The rest are really for people who are established, who are up and running, who are professional speakers. So from you that's kind of now a judge for coming onto your 5th year, although a year out, what do you see that you're like, yeah, that's what speakers do really well when they apply? And what do you see when people are like, oh my God, what are you doing? Without shedding names or anything, but what some of
Yeah.
the
Do
observations?
you know the ones for me that stood out are not just the ones who they're speakers and they're speakers, right?
Right.
And for me, it's the ones that really have that subject matter
Yep.
expertise, which they all seem to have, but it's how they communicate it. So some
Right.
people can be very technical and it just flies over your head and you can't understand it. And as a speaker, you're only as good as people really understand what you're talking about, right? And can resonate and relate to it. So I really, for me, when I'm judging, I'm looking at actually, I may not understand, I don't know her field, I don't know his background, but the way they are communicating it, I get it. I understand it. And when I think about being a paid speaker, event organizers, conference organizers, I work a lot with the corporates, they want to bring in somebody who's a subject matter expert, but can convey that with people who are not subject matter experts. So that's what I look for. Can I
Okay.
get it? Do I understand it? And then the next level is how creative, how are they performing? And because part of speaking, there's an element of performance, but you don't want it to feel performance led. You want it to be natural. So I like to see people who they just know how to win me over, and they don't need to, do too much, but they're doing enough that I'm like, yeah, I'm drawn into that person. And for me, that makes all the difference. That's what I look for.
So is it explaining the simple, simply explaining it, but creatively and keeping it simple? Would that be a good format?
Yeah.
Okay, so everyone watching on replay, watching live, there you go. You've got a little format to follow. And what are some of the no-nos? You're like, oh no, I can't believe you did that. Have you had anything like that?
No, but there was one that was like repetition, just repeating, saying the same thing, but in a different way. And I'm like,
Right.
which means that they didn't take time to really look at what they're going to be delivering. And I think what tends to happen, people feel like, yeah, because I can speak, I should be a speaker. But I think speaking is a skill.
Of
And
course.
I've looked at some of the greatest speakers that I've really adored. There's a gentleman by the name of Fusi Thembakwayo. He's a
Okay.
social entrepreneur. He's got millions of followers. And I listen to how he delivers. First of all, it shows his intellect because he can talk about his expertise, but he brings in other things. He brings in some stats, some data, some history. It makes my mind go wild. I'm like, I can listen to you. And then it's the resonance of his voice, and he doesn't repeat. So all of these kind of things really hook you in. So I think because it is a skill, sometimes you might need to write out the script and understand how does that, what emotions does that bring? If I say this, how is it going to trigger people? Those types of things make a difference between a good speaker and a great speaker, I think.
Sounds like you got a speaker crush on him.
Oh, damn, I do. Is it called Homo sapiens? Where you can fall in love with somebody by what they say and how they speak. I'm that person.
I mean, Homo sapiens is just the term for being human. I'm not sure what the actual term is for falling in love with someone for what they say and how they say it.
Well, don't worry, I should chat GPT afterwards.
We'll do. Let's call it speaker crush, all right? Because I know you're a married woman, so I don't want to get the wrong idea here, right? But speaker crush, like as a speaker, you got a bit of a crush. Well, it's really nice to see, and I'd love if you can send me the link, and we can link him into the show notes as well. I do remember one year someone stood there reading a poem from a book, and I was like, oh no. What? I mean, I don't watch the entries to stay completely removed, right? I'm completely detached from the process. But I do remember someone pointing out, and I was like, I have to look at this. And they're like, oh my God, they literally stood there with a book reading a poem. I'm like, they did not read. And we're very transparent. Everything is on the website, right? Everything, the criteria, what the judges are seeing, everything has a breakdown, right? So it's not like we're hiding. It's not hidden. Like what you're judged on, the people entering can see. It's all there, right? Now you have to agree that you agree to the terms and conditions, things like that. Besides Andrea and this gentleman, what was it, the entries that kind of really stuck, the simple ones that stuck in your mind? But is it the ones is it for you? Because depends on the category. Is it the emotive feel you get as well as the delivery? What is it? Give people some juicy stuff that they can get.
Yeah, it's definitely the emotions. And can they take me on a journey? Can I see it through their eyes? So storytelling is big in speaking, right? So
Huge.
are they taking me on a journey? Do I feel that high? Do I feel that low? Or am I like, oh my God? And I want to go on that journey with them. So for me, the best speakers are the storytellers. And there's depth. And I always see it like this. If my eyes were closed and I was walking on a carpet, I want to feel the grains of a carpet, and then I want to feel the smoothness of the fur of the carpet. I want to feel all of that, and that's what speaking should do for me. Take me on a journey. So those are for me the best speakers. I'll tell you who was good, who stood out again for me. Grace. I think she did a virtual.
Grace Marshall.
Yep. Yeah, Grace stood out because I just love how she just conveyed her story and put in pauses and then reflection bits, and all of that just made such a difference. Yeah.
Brilliant. So there's the community. There's obviously taking you on a journey, keeping things simple, simply explain them, but explaining them well. There's the storytelling. Obviously, we have a storytelling category as well, which is one of the most popular ones that we get. And I love that. The other thing that when I've interviewed past winners is they've talked about the diversity and inclusivity of the awards. And I know that's something close to your heart, right? So when we start to unpack, Michelle, beyond the speaking, what's your experience when it comes down to that in the awards and what you've seen versus other awards, for example?
Yeah, I think we have a good lineup of judges, and it's a good mixture, a good gender mix. I always look at the gender first, is it a good gender mix, or we're just getting, the boys club giving their 2 pennies on what speakers,
no
what
boys
house
club,
speakers,
no boys club. Yes.
No, we do not do boys clubs. So I love, and I remember diversity could be a number of things, right? And
Correct.
there's usually 5 or 7 things. But for me, is there a gender mix? Is there a cultural mix? And when I say cultural mix, and we're not just talking about race, I'm talking about a cultural mix, like people who are coming from different cultural backgrounds. So they bring something different to the table so that our speaker bias It's not just one way we're looking at it. And that's why you need a mix of judges, because probably the way how I'm going to judge is
Yeah.
going to be different from Jane, who's going to judge, because of my background and my cultural background, as well as my experience background makes it diverse. So I'm looking now, oh, could I see that person delivering a talk at a corporate event or at a conference? How would it sit? Where somebody else who's coming from more of an entrepreneurial background will be looking at, oh yeah, I could really see that person working, delivering a talk in at a women's conference, for example. So I think the mix and blend of cultures, of genders, of race, of experience, of thinking helps with the judging process for sure, especially when the judges, when we break it down. And then we always meet up and we break it down and say, oh, why did you give that person a 5? Or why did you give that person a 3? And we can all explain our backgrounds because we all have different maps of the world. So we're all going to judge based on how we see the world. So
Yeah, absolutely.
it has to be diverse.
It's interesting because I interviewed Adele Bates, who won last year, Storyteller of the Year. And she said what really kind of won her over was she emailed me and she said, well, she emailed the office. I reply. I often reply to emails. And she said what really impressed her is she could see the diversity when she looked on the website, but as a particular category, as a particular section, it was all, I think, men. And she emailed, said, how come this is all men for this particular category? Mm-hmm. And I just said, I was very honest. I said, thank you for the feedback. It just happens to be for this category, it's been all men. We are trying to be better, but just so you know, that's the reason. It just happened that way. Mm-hmm. And she really appreciated the honesty. I wasn't trying to fluff it or I wasn't defensive. I was like, thank you. And she said that really won her over. We had a really great, actually, there's a podcast with her as well, Adele Bates. We had a really she got very emotional. It was very moving. Actually, I was actually blown away when I interviewed the winners, just how much emotion came across in those interviews, which makes, again, these awards very special because they're not popularity contests. You win by the merit of people seeing your potential, your ability, depending on the category. It's not vote for me. It's not, we're not, we're going to, and it goes to a public panel. So this isn't part of an organization. And that's what I mean. Myself and all the founders are removed from it. So it's really nice to hear from your point of view that you're also seeing that. And we are working hard. I think someone recently emailed message and said, I can't see enough of this particular race. And I was like, well, thank you for your feedback. And now that gives me an impetus to go look for a judge from that particular race, right? And I think, this year it's really exciting. We have all kinds, including a former apprentice contestant from the UK. So I'm excited to see what he brings. And he's an interesting because he's Black Italian, right? So that's a really interesting mix. So I'm excited. Anyway. And we do try and we do better and we do listen to feedback. And, we're always trying to be a little bit better. But you know what? I think Jazz said as well, 2 things she said. She said, number one, she saw so many women on stage and so many women being awarded. So she was happy about that. Mm-hmm. And then she's funny. She didn't mean to, I don't know if she meant to do it, but we've got the Hall of Fame. Yes. And we're talking about the Hall of Fame and her being inducted. And then she went, am I the only woman in it? I was like, oh no, I think you are, So now we have to find a woman for the Hall of Fame, for the Lifetime Achievement. We found her. We found her. All shall be revealed. So just tell us a little bit about your background, right? We found out why you're a judge. Tell us a little bit about because you've got some pretty impressive achievements. Tell us a little bit as a speaker, but also, of course, what you do day in, day out. In Dubai, you're living out one time, although right now Dubai is a bit of a not living up environment as we're recording this. Yeah, tell us about your speaking experience and let's go beyond.
Yeah, so my background is in human resources. So I've been working in HR now more than 25 years, like starting from entry level. And when I was employed, I got up to head of department. And I really enjoy HR because I can utilize my people management skills, but also help the organizations lead and deliver better with people as their assets. And so I've always stuck with that. Then I went solo, and I've got to say, entrepreneurship is not for the faint-hearted. And especially I have to use speaking as a marketing tool to get HR clients. So I now wasn't speaking as a good thing to do. It was a critical part of my marketing mix. And
Okay.
so it's been a journey. It's definitely been a journey. Now I live out here in Dubai, so it's a matter of now how what I was doing in the UK. I do a lot of work now with leaders around innovation and entrepreneurship. So I literally look like I'm going against the grain of entrepreneurship, but because I understand what my market wants and what my market needs, I understand that they want to keep their top talent. So, what I get them to do is identify through my framework who are the potential entrepreneurs, the ones who look like they may leave in the next 2 years, how we can retain them and get the best out of them so they still get paid on a regular basis.
Yep.
Because entrepreneurs don't always get paid on a regular basis.
Tell me about it.
And they get to showcase their entrepreneurial talents within the confines of the workspace. And that works really well. And they then, do really well for the company. So now I use speaking as a way to get more clients out here.
Okay, got it. Now you've got some quite interesting achievements, like you're on a board of a bank and you're the first non-Emirati. Tell us all about those achievements.
Yes. So I actually sit on two boards, but the biggest one I sit on is Lloyd's Banking Group in the UK. And they have like a multidisciplinary team, and we support the bank and we hold the bank accountable for what they're doing to bring in more diverse customers. So they want to work with more diverse businesses. They could be women owned, they could be Black owned businesses, they could be disabled owned, but whatever initiatives they're working on, they have to go through us as a board to sense check it, because we're on the ground, we know what's going on. So we need to understand we need them to understand to speak the right language to communicate to the people that they want to get in as business. So and I've been doing that for 5 years. And it's been great. It's been a great exposure sitting in those boardrooms, access to some of the biggest brands in the world who bank with Lloyds Bank, and being in those rooms and able to contribute value. And what I'm doing out here now is in the UAE, they have what they call an Emiratization, where they're trying to get more Emiratis working in the public sector, let's call it, if we had to align it to the UK, to the public sector, right? And but what tends to happen, not a lot of Emiratis apply. And when they do, they don't necessarily stay. So I have an entrepreneurship framework or a retention strategy that supports them in getting them in and supports them in staying. And usually this is, they'll only give this to other Emiratis who can speak Arab. I don't speak Arab, right? I can say a few things, shukran and everything else.
Yeah, Habibi.
And Habibi. But it's a testament to, but it was hard, right? It was hard. It was a challenge trying to show them the value of it, and for them to understand why should they engage my company to do it, because you're not even Emirati. How do you understand Emiratis? So I had to, take my time to really showcase and get them to understand what I know and why bringing me in is going to be different and will be the difference for them to stay and sustain. So yeah, feel very proud of that.
Well done. And so you're in. So are you now officially a representative of the Emirati government by getting it in?
Not yet, no. So because I'm seen as like an external consultant.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm seen as so, but I'm working alongside government initiatives.
Okay, that's really cool. Well done, you. Yay! And that sounds very exciting. And there's an achievement around TEDx. What was that achievement?
Oh yeah, just being able to do a TEDx talk on my personal story. I think for me it was a great achievement because it's not something that I talk about a lot, but I was able to. It's because it's such a traumatic. It was a traumatic story that I told.
Yeah.
But for me, I always put that up put that up as one of my biggest achievements, to be able to tell the story in a way that I wasn't spilling out onto the audience. That's another thing, right?
Yeah.
When we talk about traumatic experiences that we've been through, there's such a thin line between showing the emotion and taking the viewers on the journey with you, and not spilling out and using it as a platform for a catharsis.
Yeah.
So I managed to get that right. I'm not even going to lie, just I was on the edge. But the moral of the story is what I wanted people to get from it is, what do you do when you see a crime? How do you make sure you're not just judging the victim, and think about the perpetrators' families who also become indirect victims? And that's what happened with me. And I tell that story. And through that TEDx talk, I've managed to get so many other talks, but I don't want to always to be about, oh, poor me. So I've tried to reshape, when I've been invited to speak on the back of my TEDx, reshape it so there's other stories I can tell which are a bit more empowering.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
So for me, that's a great achievement.
No, that is in itself a great achievement. Getting TEDx is a great achievement. A lot of people aspire that, right? So you right now I'm interviewing Michelle Raymond, who's one of the judges for the Speaker Award. She's been with us since the day go. And this is the ANS Front Row podcast, and this is the judges series. I'm super excited to carry on talking to Michelle Raymond here. By the way, if Lloyd's want to sponsor the awards, we will gladly accept it, Michelle. So, let us know. We'll have that chat.
Yes, definitely.
Or if Dubai want to sponsor us in any way, we'll say yes, But, keep that on the burner because, Dubai and I, we've got a love affair happening.
We do, yeah, I've noticed.
Yeah, it's starting. We've been dating each other for a bit. I think we're ready to move to another level now.
I like that.
So maybe I'll take Dubai home with me, Let's see. So fantastic. So listen, I don't know about you, but I don't know about your household. But in my household, the kitchen table is literally the hub of everything. It's where my kids draw. It's where we eat breakfast. It's where Emily and I talk about our futures. It's where we talk about buying a house. Like everything happens around our kitchen table, right? So my visions, all that seems to happen around the kitchen table. As much as I try and move my kids off the kitchen table onto other tables, they find their way back onto the kitchen table. If I was to ask you, metaphorically, this could be, or it could be practically. Most people I've asked this, they practically tell me what there's on their kitchen table. What's on your kitchen table? What happens around your kitchen table?
On my kitchen table, we discuss which I hadn't mentioned is, so I do a lot of work with entrepreneurs to help them source and secure corporate engagements.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yep.
And I do a lot of work on that. And mostly you'll see that on Instagram, and my leadership stuff you'll see on LinkedIn.
Okay.
But on the kitchen table, we talk about what I can do for entrepreneurs, as I have a heart for small businesses. And we talk about, how if a company can partner with larger organizations, and when these organizations want to source smaller businesses for projects, that they come to us as almost like an agency type of thing.
Okay.
And so that's what we've been plotting and talking about, and finding the right organizations to making sure that they have a number of potential projects, so that when they say, Michelle, do you know a small consultancy or a coaching company who can deliver on XYZ? It's not just a one-off. There's like a sustainable income through a retainer. I always push out retainers. So that's what we talk about on the kitchen table, and we're talking about what people will be good for certain organizations. And I look at my network, who will be a good connection for that type of person. Because, when like and trust the right person, you don't mind introducing them to your network, because
that's true.
They'll respect the relationship, And so, and I don't do it too often, but when I do it, it's because I know we're good. You're going to respect them, and they're not going to come back to me. Like I remember when Meta said to me, and she's the head of supplier diversity at Meta, she said, if you were to recommend someone to us, if we put out a request for proposal, we would definitely take them on board and interview them because we know you.
Oh, wow.
So, and I know that I have recommended people to Meta, I've recommended people to law firms, and they didn't have to go through the different layers because of my reputation I had with the company. So that's
Nice.
really important. So I always look, how can I utilize my network and on the kitchen table and how I can optimize that a bit better.
Favorite dish to cook?
Yes. Oh, oxtail. And I don't
Oxtail.
know. Yeah, it's a Caribbean dish, oxtail and rice and peas.
I love that.
Yes.
Okay. I just got curious, like, well, I wonder what she likes to cook. So
Yeah.
oxtail, rice, and peas. Loving it, loving
Mhm.
it. So that, what would, if we were to translate it now metaphorically, what would be your idea that you would love to spread? What would be the kind of, if this was a TEDx application, right? What would be your idea worth spreading?
Does it have to be about speaking or about
No,
anything?
no, no, no. This
Okay.
is where we get to know you a bit more versus the speaker, you know.
Ooh, ideas worth spreading. Okay, I would probably just expand on what I said around network, but
Yes.
not so much your network is your net worth, but
Okay.
also curating the right network. This is important.
Yes.
So I tell
Talk
you
to us.
why. You know, on LinkedIn, so I do these masterclasses on how to get corporate gigs and engagements using LinkedIn and
Yeah.
other ways, but just this one on LinkedIn specifically. When I did this masterclass and I saw people register, I had over 120 people register. So I
Wow.
asked my team to have a look at some of their LinkedIns. And do you know that
Nope.
80%, probably 80, 90% of them, their networks were made up of other people like them, other coaches,
Okay.
other consultants,
Yep.
other therapists and practitioners, and not enough corporates. So then in when I delivered the masterclass, one part of what I was speaking about is you have to curate the right network. If
Hmm.
you want to get corporate gigs and you've got like a corporate lead magnet, if most of your connections are other coaches, other consultants, other therapists, it's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to land. So you need to start not culling, but when people want to request to be your friend, have a look. Unless you're going to be partnering with them, you need
Yeah.
to be connecting with heads of departments, heads of divisions, lead CEOs, CFOs. That's who you need to be connecting with because when they are on LinkedIn and they see, oh, you're a speaker on AI and they're doing an AI conference, who are they going to go to? But if all your network are just the same people like you, you're not putting yourself in a good position. So my TED talk or my message worth spreading is review your network and start creating the right network that's going to get you what you want.
So what you're saying is, you know, stop having lots of yous and have lots of others, right? And I think, you know, have some of yous, but have more
Mm-hmm.
of others. And it's
Yeah,
interesting because I think a good
yeah,
example of that is yourself and myself. We're surrounded by authors, right? It seems like
yeah.
everybody's writing books.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm about to release my seventh one in July at the Speaker Summit before the
Wow.
Speaker Awards, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping this is lucky number seven because I think after
Mm-hmm.
this, I really don't want to write anymore unless, you know, it's a massive commission.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, around us, everyone seems to be writing a book. So when I talk to people about to write a book, they're like, well, everyone's writing a book. But when you zoom out, it's actually such a small percentage of people that actually write books. But because we're surrounded by authors,
Yeah.
Rethink Press, who are one of our partners, and now they're with Advantage, and we all come across someone that's written a book, it might feel like everybody in our networks, right,
Yes.
an author, but that's not the case. Well, it depends. It could be if you, unless you listen to
Mhm.
Michelle and you don't diverse your network, you end up with
Diversify
other
your network.
authors. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I think it's really interesting. So that's really good way, and you know, stop having more of yous and have more of others. And the other thing, of course, with the likes of LinkedIn is you never really know, right? You never really know when you get that message, when you're going to get that text,
Hmm.
when you're going to get that request. And I find the biggest thing on LinkedIn is consistency. Let go of comments, let go of, you know, likes. It's just about posting, posting, posting. Because the ones that are
Hmm.
going to reach out aren't the ones that are going to comment. Do you find that?
And that's one of the things I talk about is
Ah,
It's not the comments, it's the DM strategy. And
Right.
what I tend to do, like my content, I make them very, I talk about what's happening in the world, what's happening, and how that might impact your leadership style or the behaviors of people in your team. So right now it's Ramadan,
Hmm.
and I created a checklist for the oil and gas operators, which is very niche, right?
Wow.
um,
Very deep.
very deep. So I did a checklist on, how to lead safely during Ramadan, because although the hours are shorter, the targets are still the same.
Hmm.
And then people are fasting as well. So people who are out on the oil, the rigs, out on sea, how are they being managed? And that particular checklist was relevant. And then I tagged in a couple of senior leaders from some of the big oil and gas companies. And no one commented. I put a link, but they have clicked the link, and then someone in my DM, he is a non-executive director of ADNOC, which is one of the biggest oil and gas companies out here, reached
Right.
out and said, I loved your post, and this is something that we should really bear in mind. So now we start the conversations in the DMs, but yet he never commented.
Yeah, and they won't, right? And I think that's something
Yeah,
to remember. The other thing I always say is, unless you're a porn star, it's not about size, right?
definitely not that size.
So it's all about the quality, and
Mhm.
like you say, the DMs that you get versus comments are nice, right? Because it pushes things up. It's about the DMs, and that I find the ones that matter, the ones that are likely to spend money often don't
Yes.
comment,
Yeah.
and that's quite an interesting thing. So I like to ask my guests all of this. You can go any direction you want with this. If it
Okay.
gets political, I might not say anything, but what is it that we're not talking about that we should be talking about? Generally speaking, not just speaking, not it doesn't have to be anything to do with speaking. In your kind of mind, what is it we are not talking about that we should be talking about?
Oh, this is a good question.
I ask good questions.
What are we not talking about that we should be talking about? Okay. No, I don't know. I'm not sure actually. But if I had to say something, okay, I guess I can only relate it to what I talk about and my line of business.
Yeah.
Um, Premium pricing.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you this, right?
Go for
I
it.
see, and it's so controversial. That's probably why it didn't come to the front of my mind, but it is something
It's
we need
okay to
to
be
talk about.
controversial. Go for it. This is your moment.
This is coaches. Well, I'm a coach, right?
Yeah.
So I'm in the mix. But when you've got those coaches that will say, you need to increase your prices. If you're
Hmm.
speaking, you need to increase your prices, whatever you're doing. But you cannot increase your prices if you are selling to the same people. Because if
Okay.
they struggle to buy your products at the lower price, they're definitely not going to buy it at the higher price. So you have to change your audience. And
Change your
some people
people.
don't want
Yeah.
to do that, right? So that's the first thing.
Okay.
And you can't increase your prices if the quality and the value of your product or service is not worthy enough of the price.
Correct.
Price is very arbitrary. Value is very subjective. So you have to really convey the value, and then that's when you can have the premium price. Thirdly, you cannot increase your price. No, you can see I've got a beam up on it. You can't increase
Go
your
for it.
prices if you do not have a premium mindset. It's
Okay.
impossible because you will struggle to come across as authentic in terms of your pricing strategy because you're not a premium thinker. You're not a premium buyer. So you don't even buy expensive stuff yourself.
Mm.
You've never bought into a high-end five-figure program. You look for bargain, and so how then can you sell premium when you're not premium yourself? And this, I think, is something people don't talk about. We're very quick to put out, increase your prices. You should be charging more for that. But it's a whole paradigm shift of premium pricing. And a lot of people are in the bargain basement, and nothing
Mm.
wrong with it. but that means you need to get a lot of people to buy. And then they're in the market of like traditional pricing, where people will just look at your price rather than your service and see, can I get it cheaper elsewhere? But premium is a whole different ball game. It requires a whole different mindset, a whole paradigm shift. You have to look at even yourself. Are you a premium buyer? Do you operate in the premium market before you start charging premium? That is my takeaway.
I like that. I think it's an interesting conversation. I think I see this with speakers a lot, right? I see it when they undercharge, I see it when they overcharge. And I see it around the space I'm in as well, right? Around, because, I still do some coaching, I still do some training. And I think the challenge is when you're the low end, it's a commodity, right? It's people will always, someone will always undercut you, and some will always come in cheaper or perceivably better. Let's go with a speaker that's 500 quid, right? If you think of it like a pyramid, then there's a lot of 500 quidders, right? And so then it becomes, who did the better proposal? Who do I like more, right? But when you go up the pyramid and you start get to, it gets less and less. And the 1% obviously is the top, and those are the high earners, the ones that like the likes of Maria Franzoni talks about, right? As the 1%ers. And a lot of the people that enter the awards, they're in various stages, but a lot of them are sort of 3 to 5Kers. And I do see a lot of people who really struggle to ask for their value because of self-worth issues, confidence issues. I think there's nothing wrong with looking for a bargain. I don't think there's wrong. We all look for bargains, but I think what you're talking about is the mindset. This is what Maria says very well. She says, if you want a 10K gig, you need a 10K show reel. And to get a 10K show reel, you need to spend money, right?
Exactly.
But a lot of people won't do that in the speaking space. I see this a lot with coaches. And I think because a lot of people in the space you're talking about, coaching and that space, their only way of making money themselves is to push prices up and therefore get the people to buy from the high price. So then they preach that, look at me, I've got 100 people paying me 10 grand. I'm sorted, right? Although I think what people negate is how much work goes into that and how hard they have to work. And I think, look, hearing you speak, I was thinking, God, I haven't increased my prices for a very long time. And that's strategic. I do that on purpose, right? I charge what I charge, and I've been like that for years because it's the right thing for the people I'm attracting.
Exactly.
And it's expensive enough that it's not right for those who aren't ready. It's the right price for those who are, right? And also I find, I don't know about you, when I charge what I charge, and often people pay me up front, I don't ask for it, I do give payment plans, I find the level of complaints is lower and commitments higher. And I think that there is something around charging your worth, knowing your place. I don't charge as much as a lot of people in that space because I don't feel I'm quite there to charge that. That's not me putting myself down. I know where I sit.
Yeah.
And
I love that.
how much of that do you feel plays a part in this paradigm we're talking about?
Most certainly. When I think there are a lot of people who are overconfident, and their overconfidence leads them to want to charge more, but the quality or the output does not equate the price at all. And so you have to really understand where you sit. And you're absolutely right, it's not about devaluing yourself. I know that if I've not been in this area of expertise for a number of years, I don't have the track record, I know that I might need to retweak. When I talk about innovation and entrepreneurship in the oil and gas space, in the financial services and professional services, I can charge premium because there's not lots of me that do that. When I've been called to do leadership training specifically in the oil and gas, they know there's not many people because I know specifically about the intricacies of the oil and gas, so I can charge more. Now, if I wanted to talk about AI now, I can't charge that much because I'm just like the majority, just sitting on ChatGPT. So I understand where I am in the market.
Right.
And that's what people need to think about: your years of experience, the results you've received as well. And not only the results, but the results you've received through other people who are at a certain level as well.
Right.
And that does indicate, because if I'm only working with clients who haven't even had a turnover of 80 or 83, whatever the VAT threshold is.
Can't
And then
remember.
I've got
89? Can't
or
remember.
89, well, yeah. Or I can say, actually, I've done leadership training within Amazon, with Mashreq Bank, and with State Bank of India. Now I can be talking bigger money because I deserve the money that I'm aiming for. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think knowing your place and knowing your value, and again, I think sometimes you can inflate it. Well, I'm worth this because I believe it. Well, okay, and there's nothing wrong with believing that you're worth 10K a gig, right? But you have to demonstrate that too, and I think that's where the disconnect happens, right? And I think, a lot of people, for example, in the wellness and mental well-being space, they want to charge 5 to 10K. I'm like, but the budgets for that space don't allow that.
Yeah.
And so then and I never forget one speaker said to me, I am a 2.5 grand speaker. I won't speak for any less. I'm like, well done. How many bookings are you getting? She goes, none. Then you're not a 2.5 grand speaker, right?
Yeah.
And just to your point, years and years ago, I think it was the same time you and I, when I was doing the strategy stuff, I did fall into that space, and I was charging a lot of money to work with me over the year. And I just remember it felt dark in the sense of people are putting up a lot, and I mean a lot of money, even today, a lot of money. And while I know these things work because I at the time had built six-figure had worked, there's so many other factors, and I'd be watching people, and I'd be taking them for the same stuff that I did, obviously coaching them, mentoring, and they wouldn't be getting results, and they've blown a lot of money, and I felt so responsible and so bad for them that I was like, I'm done, I'm not doing this anymore, which is why I backed out of that. I'm like, I can't hold people's dreams in my hand and watch them fade away, and I just didn't want that. There's other people out there. Some people might question, go, oh, well, you clearly weren't good or whatever. I'm not interested in that. I made the right decision, and I shifted to speaking, which I was doing anyway. And I think everyone I spoke to, all my mentors at the time, including Daniel Priestley, he was like, that's the right move. You need to go down the speaking path. And I think it was definitely the right move. So it's interesting that that's what we should be talking about. So are you saying really we should have more open conversations about money and value?
Yeah, I really think so. And I really, because every coach every service provider is going to ask, how much should I charge for this? And but when you're asking that, there's a disconnect. From when you are asking, how much should I charge for this speaking gig? Or how much should I charge for this offer? That's where the disconnect, because we're not talking about it. Because if you know the value that you bring to your marketplace, we're only talking to your niche, the value that you bring to your marketplace, you understand what your market needs right now, you understand the industry, the intricacies of it, you will never need to ask how much I should charge, because you should know by basis of understanding your market and know that you are going to be the solution to their current challenges.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's a matter, and I think that's where the power of no, right? When you know that, you're also able to say no, right? And I remember I did a training a couple of weeks ago, a local company where I live in the UK, and it wasn't my daily fee. It wasn't, but I really enjoyed delivering training for them. And I remember I stood there, I had their senior management in the room, and I was like, what's really nice now is I can really pick and choose the trainings I want to do. And I think that's the nice thing you can get to as well. And I think the power of no, and I do say a lot more no's these days than I say yeses. I know my fee when people want to book me, it's between 3 and 5K. You know, if the opportunity presents itself, I'm like, do you know what, that's a good opportunity, I'm willing to take less. Or, of course, if someone wants to pay me more, I'm happy to do that. But equally, I know when to say no. So now when people approach me, I'm like, look, here's my starting fee. How's that sit with you? And often they'll go quiet. They'll disappear. I'm like, great, thanks for not wasting my time on a useless meeting. Right? But yeah, I think generally speaking, as a society, we could probably benefit from talking about money more.
Yeah. It's definitely a UK thing. In America, they talk about it all the time.
Do they talk about it in Dubai? Do you find people talk about money as well?
No, they don't talk about it here either. So I think the UK should be the one to lead the way.
Should be the one, yes. Well, we lead the way in so many ways. And unfortunately, we're losing a lot of our talent to abroad, but that's another conversation, which we'll do another time. So brilliant. What is your final message for people listening for the awards, and generally, what do you want? If they only watch this slight clip, what would be the kind of words of genius you want to share?
Well, I'm very big in opening the doors for others. So I think my takeaway is when you go up the elevator, send it back down.
Oh, I love that. Such a good
I think
metaphor.
so. Yeah, I really believe that because yeah, I haven't where I've got, and I'm not even at the very top, but I know I'm in rooms that only because somebody opened the door for me, and I'm so grateful for that because I'm not qualified enough, not experienced enough, but I'm still sitting in those rooms on those tables. So I would say when you go up the lift, send the elevator back down.
I love that. And what about when people are thinking about applying for the Speaker Awards 2026? What would you say to them?
Definitely, that's your door opener. This is the Speaker Awards sending the elevator back down, and you have to be ready to enter it. And so I think anyone sitting on the fence thinking, "Oh, it's not for me," or "I don't see my type of person there," be that type of person. Be the first. And that's a book by someone called Caroline Flanagan. Be the first. So if you don't see yourself or it's not for you, be the first. And we welcome
Love it. Michelle, thank you so much for thank you for being my first, the first of the judges to be interviewed on the podcast. Thank you for opening the doors for others and being such a staunch supporter of the Speaker Summit and the Speaker Awards, and for coming back as a judge. We missed you. We welcome you back. For everybody out there, remember, we've got our launch webinar at 2 p.m. on the 26th of March, UK time. You can hear all about the awards. You can hear about the entries, how to enter. We'll take you through the system, the categories, you name it. We'll even hear from a few judges. Michelle, you're going to be on that call? Can we?
Yes, on the 26th.
Well, let's get... There we go. We get to hear from Michelle herself. We might call her onto the call as well. We will, for sure. If you're watching this or hearing this past the 26th of March, just go to thespeakerawards.com. You can enter. You can find out everything we talked about today. Do it. You never know where you're going to land. And who you're going to become as a result will be worthwhile. Till then, my name's Elliot Kay. I'm the CEO of the Speaker Awards and Speaker Summit. And I look forward to hearing, seeing, or finding out more about you soon. Take care. Thank you for tuning in to this week's Front Row podcast. Remember to like, subscribe, and comment. It's through your feedback that we grow. We hope you've taken lots of notes, benefited from the wisdom, and are now going to turn everything into action. Remember to keep an eye out for our next episode of the Front Row podcast. And remember to like, subscribe, and of course, leave us a 5-star review. We look forward to connecting with you and hearing the progress of your journey in the professional speaking world. Tune in next time for the Front Row podcast.